I bought the CD-ROM for 50 cents at a garage sale in a cul-de-sac outside Dayton, Ohio. The case was cracked, the label barely legible. Classroom 6-beta version. Underneath, in faded marker, "Do not install," which, obviously, made me want to install it immediately. Let me clarify something. I'm not a thrill seeker. I'm a 30-year-old freelance copywriter with 3 unpaid invoices, a cactus I've killed twice, and a deep-seated nostalgia addiction. Old tech, educational games, junk from the 90s. That's my equivalent of heroin. So, yeah. I took it home, slid the disk into my dusty external drive like it was some kind of forbidden relic. The kind they warn you about in library basements and low-budget horror movies. The screen flickered. A loading bar crawled across my monitor. The icon, an apple with a bite missing, smiled at me. Smiled. Like the apple had teeth. Cute. Real Edutainment Corp. 1997 energy. The setup was basic. A cheery tune played in MIDI format. The background was a cartoon classroom with melting colors, desks at odd angles, and a chalkboard that said, "Welcome to Classroom 6." Then came the prompt. "Please enter your name." I typed, "Bradley," and the program typed back, "Incorrect. Your name is Peter." I froze. I hadn't gone by that name in years. Not publicly, not online, not on this computer. No data linking, no cookies. Just a CD-ROM from someone's moldy garage. "Welcome back, Peter. Let's finish what we started." I laughed, uneasy, but still laughing. Okay, spooky learning software. You win points for atmosphere. I figured it was a generic placeholder, a coincidence. My subconscious wanting to feel special. I kept going. The main menu offered 6 categories: arithmetic, language arts, creative writing, social studies, music room, final exam. Locked. I clicked language arts. The screen dissolved into pixelated static, then reformed into a row of cartoon lockers. A figure stood in front of them. Blonde hair, big bow, chalk white skin. She blinked, but only one eye. Her name tag read, "Miss Melody, your guide to good behavior." She waved with fingers just slightly too long. "Let's learn about words today, Peter. Let's learn the truth." The word exercise began, but something was off. The vocabulary cards weren't normal. First word, missing. Definition, no longer in attendance. Second word, expelled. Definition, removed from reality due to repeated disobedience. Third word, you. Definition, still here. I exited the program. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Homework is mandatory, Peter." I stared at the screen, my reflection in the black monitor. Behind me, only shadows. I told myself it was a prank, a virus, a weird joke embedded in the disk. Then I checked the CD-ROM. It was no longer in the drive. It was already back in its case, which I never touched. I stood there in silence, CD in hand, staring at the handwritten label again. "Do not install." My laptop flickered to life on its own. Class is in session. I didn't touch anything. I swear on my decaying cactus. The screen booted up again. Same cheerful jingle, though now slightly out of tune. You know when a piano hasn't been tuned in 20 years and every note sounds like a question mark? That. The Apple logo smiled again. This time, its teeth were sharper, like they'd been filed down to points. There was also a drip of red below the stem. Could have been juice. Could have been blood. Could have been ketchup. You'd be amazed what I tell myself to sleep at night. Then the intercom crackled. Yes, intercom. My speakers emitted a bzzzt, followed by a monotone voice. "Good morning, students. It's time for attendance. Eyes forward." backs straight. I chuckled. Wow, immersive. Creepy 90s charm level, elite. The screen shifted to a darkened classroom. Desks lined in perfect rows. The windows were boarded up. I don't know if that was a design choice or foreshadowing. Probably both. Miss Melody appeared again, this time seated. No, perched on the teacher's desk. Her bow had wilted. Let's see who's here today. A class roster popped up. Names scrolled down like credits at the end of a bad movie. But these weren't fictional. They were real. Ava R. Marcus Lee, Emily Santos, Peter Gray. That's me. Devin Nash, Kelsey Meyer, Samira T. Jason Kepler. I recognized 4 of those names. We were in a pilot-gifted program in 1999. Briefly, until the school shut it down. Nobody ever said why, except for one whispered phrase I'd half forgotten until now. Classroom 6. The cursor hovered over Ava R. Then the screen flickered. Miss Melody smiled. Ava is absent. A beat. Then, absence confirmed. File moved to archives. Ava's name vanished in a puff of digital static. The word archived flashed in red where her name had been. I Googled her. Obituary. Died in 2011. Hiking accident. Except, I remembered something. She never hiked. She hated bugs. She used to scream when cafeteria fruit cups had the little green bits. The cursor moved on. Marcus Lee, absent. Devin Nash, absent. Jason Kepler, absent. Each one archived. Each one followed by a tiny sound effect, like a paper shredder chewing through old memories. Then the cursor reached me. Peter Gray. Pause. Miss Melody tilted her head. Her mouth didn't move, but the speakers buzzed. Still here. For now. My webcam light clicked on. It stayed on. I covered it with a Post-it and said something eloquent like, "Nope. No. Nah. Not today. Satan.exe." The program crashed, just blinked out, but the background image on my desktop had changed. It used to be a photo of a mountain lake I'd never visit. Now it was a grainy class photo. Classroom 6, 12 kids, teacher in the back, bow in her hair. One kid, me, circled in red. Caption, only one left. I shut the laptop and threw it in a drawer. It's still there, humming, even unplugged. I don't sleep much now. I keep thinking about that attendance list. Not who was marked absent, but who's next. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a nap. I sat on the edge of my bed with the lights on and a baseball bat in hand, as if beating my laptop to death could somehow erase the fact that it knew who I was, that it remembered what I'd forgotten. At 3:33 a.m., because of course it was, I heard the startup jingle again, muffled from inside the drawer. It wasn't plugged in, it wasn't even open. Still, the warped little tune crawled out from the metal like a lullaby composed by a sadistic music box. My hand hovered over the drawer for 5 full minutes before I opened it. The screen was on, and it was waiting for me. Welcome back, Peter. Today's lesson is creative writing. Let's get those thoughts flowing. A blinking cursor appeared below the prompt. Describe your happiest childhood memory. I stared at it, and for some reason, sleep deprivation, morbid curiosity, or plain idiocy, I started typing. I remember the last day of the program. We were told we were going on a field trip. No parents, no permission slips, just a yellow bus waiting behind the gym. Miss Melody said it would be educational. We brought sack lunches and wore name tags. Except, none of that happened. At least, not the way I wrote it. I don't know why I typed that. It just flowed. Like the words were already there, buried in some dusty corner of my mind with cobwebs and dead Tamagotchis. The cursor blinked. Miss Melody's voice returned, syrupy sweet. Wonderful work, Peter. Such vivid imagery. But that's not quite what happened, is it? The screen flickered, and my paragraph rewrote itself, right before my eyes. We were told to stay behind after class. Miss Melody locked the door. The windows had already been sealed. The janitor wheeled something in, something covered by a tarp. We didn't eat. We didn't leave. I slammed the lid shut. Didn't matter. The printer turned on. I don't even use it. I thought it was out of ink. It groaned like it was being forced back to life after a 10-year coma. A single page came out, typed neatly at the top, assignment complete. Peter Gray, memory recovered. Credibility pending. Next task, confession. Then below that, handwritten in blue crayon. Do you remember what you did, Peter? I haven't used crayons since I was 10. And the worst part? The handwriting looked exactly like mine. From back then, I didn't go to work, didn't check my email. I sat on the kitchen floor with that printout in my lap like it was some cursed relic from a tomb I should have left sealed. Do you remember what you did, Peter? No. Yes. Maybe. The printer roared back to life around noon. Another sheet. Time for a group presentation. Classmates have been selected at random. Please prepare a 3-minute summary of your shared experience. Eye contact is encouraged. Smiling is mandatory. And then the video call started. On its own. 4 windows popped up on my screen, each filled with an adult who looked just as sleep-deprived and emotionally unstable as I felt. We all flinched when we saw each other. "Is this a prank?" one woman asked, her voice trembling. "Because this isn't funny." Another man chimed in. "What the hell is Classroom 6? Why does it know my name? I haven't gone by Jimmy since 2nd grade." We all froze. Jimmy, Claire, Ricky, me. Names from the old roster. Names I hadn't heard in 25 years. And then the 5th window appeared. Black screen. 1 audio bar. And a voice we hadn't heard since childhood. "Hello, class. I've missed you." Miss Melody. Still chipper. Still sing-songy. Only now there was something corrupted. Like a smiling kindergarten teacher possessed by a marketing AI. You've all grown so much, but growth doesn't excuse bad behavior. You left without saying goodbye. You lied about what happened. Now it's time to tell the truth. Together. Jimmy screamed and disconnected. The screen flickered. His face turned to static. Then a pre-recorded segment began playing in his window. A VHS quality clip of a child. Jimmy, age 7, standing in the corner of a dim classroom, sobbing, hands red with something. "We didn't mean to hurt her," the boy said. "She told us to pretend. She said it was a game." Claire vomited off screen. Ricky was muttering over and over. "There was no field trip. There was no field trip. There was no field trip." Miss Melody interrupted. "Peter, your turn. Begin your presentation." I was paralyzed, but my mic turned on. The red light blinked, and suddenly, without thinking, I spoke. "We locked the substitute teacher in the supply closet. It was supposed to be a prank, but the door jammed. She was screaming for hours. We thought she was faking. By the time the janitor found her, it was too late." The others went silent. Claire whispered, "Oh my God, it was real. We did that, and they erased it from our heads." Miss Melody clapped. "Excellent work, Peter. The first step is accountability." My screen dimmed. A message flashed. Presentation received. Punishment pending. And then everything went black. Except the printer. Still groaning. Still printing. Line after line. Confess. 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 The printer finally stopped. I thought maybe the nightmare had ended, until I turned around. My laptop had booted into full-screen mode again. This time, it showed an old Windows 95 style interface, complete with pixelated clip art. A cartoon owl wearing glasses blinked at me from the corner. It's time for extra credit. You've done so well, Peter, but learning is a lifelong journey. Let's review what you've forgotten. A new folder appeared on the screen, /memories/archived/inside it. Dozens of grainy videos, all dated between September and November 1999, all labeled with names like Red Paint Incident, Show and Tell Omitted Footage, Miss Melody's Last Lesson. I clicked one and instantly regretted it. It opened with a shaky camera shot of us, me, Claire, Jimmy, Ricky, giggling under a blanket fort made from classroom mats. We were whispering about the game. "We just have to do what she says," I heard myself say, age 7. She said the classroom turns real when we follow the rules. "What happens if we break them?" asked Jimmy. "Then we get sent to the hallway." Everyone went quiet in the video. Even our child selves understood what that meant. The next few clips blurred into each other. Frantic whispers, flashlights under desks, drawings of stick figures with black eyes and no mouths. One of us crying in a corner, repeating the same word. Reset. 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 I slammed the laptop shut. The owl popped up on my phone. "You didn't finish your lesson, Peter. You're going to fall behind your classmates." And then my phone screen flickered, showing my front-facing camera. Except I wasn't alone in the frame. Behind me stood a child, small, barefoot, hair covering its face, and humming. The Classroom 6 melody. I turned, nothing there, but the printer began again. This time it wasn't a worksheet. It was a field trip permission slip. Signed, dated, tomorrow. Destination, Room 6B, after-school session. Dress code, red. Items to bring, scissors, a toy, a mirror. Guardian signature already provided. I dropped the paper. My phone rang. Claire panicked. "They got Ricky," she said. "He said he was going to burn the laptop. Then he screamed, and then the call just ended." "Peter, I think they're going to bring us back." "To where?" I whispered. She didn't answer right away. Then, to the hallway. Click. I barely slept. The phone calls stopped, but the buzzing never did. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear the faint scraping sound of scissors against wood, the soft ticking of an unseen clock counting down the seconds. At dawn, the notification pinged. Another message from the Classroom 6 app. "Don't be late, Peter. We've been waiting a long time for you to return." The address was simple. Room 6B. I knew exactly where that was. The school had been renovated decades ago. The old classrooms turned into storage rooms. That's where they told us we'd go if we misbehaved. The hallway, they said, would be the last place we'd want to end up. I pulled on my red hoodie, the only color I owned that matched the absurd dress code. I grabbed the scissors, the toy, and the mirror. Everything but the permission slip was already in my bag. I wasn't sure I wanted to keep it anyway. If anything, it felt like an invitation, like a ticket to a twisted reunion. I arrived at the school just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows that stretched unnaturally. Room 6B was locked. No surprise there. I turned to leave, but then I saw it. A small note tacked to the door. I couldn't remember ever seeing this kind of handwriting before. It read, "If you see the window, don't look in it. If you hear the bell, don't listen. The game isn't over until the teacher says it is." Before I could even consider what that meant, the bell rang. It wasn't the school bell. It was the bell I had heard as a child, the one that played in my nightmares. A sharp, tinny sound like it had come from a toy store in the 90s. The same one I had always heard in the background of the games. I pushed the door open. The room was the same as I remembered it. Wooden desks, whiteboard smudged with faded notes. On the floor was a large, circular rug with the classroom logo. A smiling child holding an oversized pencil. Only it wasn't smiling anymore. Its eyes were empty. The lights flickered, then went out. I heard the sound of children laughing. I knew those laughs. They were us. The other kids. Ricky, Claire, Jimmy. They were in the desks, staring blankly ahead. Their bodies were here, but they were hollow. The same ghostly presence they had been in all those videos. And then I saw her. Miss Melody, sitting at the teacher's desk, her hands folded in front of her, staring at me with those wide, unblinking eyes. "Peter," she said in a voice I hadn't heard since I was a child. "You're late, but that's okay. We can still finish what we started." I froze. The scissors in my pocket felt heavier than ever. "Ready for your final exam?" Before I could answer, the kids began chanting, their voices mixing with the eerie hum of the old clock. "Follow the rules, follow the rules, or else the hallway." Miss Melody's smile stretched unnaturally wide. "It's just a simple test, Peter. A game. Answer correctly and you'll graduate. Break the rules and you'll stay here forever." I looked around. The walls seemed to breathe. I could almost hear them whispering the same words over and over. "No one escapes the hallway." Then, in front of me, a chalkboard appeared. Miss Melody's voice echoed in my head. "Answer. What's the one thing you can't forget?" The words hovered on the board, waiting for me. I had one chance. But before I could write anything, the floor beneath me cracked open. And there, in the abyss below, I saw the final answer. The hallway. The walls seemed to close in on me, the children's laughter growing louder and more manic. They wanted me to play. But this time, I wouldn't be their puppet. I grabbed the scissors from my pocket, slashing them into the chalkboard. The sound was deafening. The kids screamed, the lights shattered, and for a moment, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in room 6B. The hallway was gone, but I wasn't free. I was standing in the middle of a classroom, a new one. Different chairs, different desks, yet somehow familiar. Just like the one before, and Miss Melody's voice still echoed in my ears. "Class is always in session, Peter."